But welcome, everybody. We're so excited you're here. You probably have already noticed, as I've been talking the whole time, that we have a new face here this morning. Alicia had another webinar that she was hopping on. So I get to be here, and I also get the privilege of having Zoe with us. Zoe's been with BombBomb for what, 3 years now?
Year
Is
and
that
a half.
right? Is that it?
Yeah.
My gosh. All right. Well, she's done a lot in her year and a half. So that's why I feel like it's been so long. But she's had a couple different roles. She is amazing on LinkedIn. So I'm going to give her a second to just kind of introduce herself. But Zoe, thanks for being with us. We're super excited you're here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. If you ever, wondered what BombBomb does all day, what their sales team does, a lot of us are on LinkedIn. So that's actually how I got started on LinkedIn. I was an SDR or BDR, whatever title makes more sense for you. Basically, I was cold outbounding and sourcing opportunities for our sales team. And that's how I got started on LinkedIn about a year ago. But I had a theory that there was a better way to use it and kind of increase my reach. And by increasing my reach, thereby producing more opportunities for myself and for my team. So I spent a lot of time on LinkedIn, learning about it, attending webinars, trying things, testing things out for myself. And it actually landed me my current role in marketing, where I oversee a lot of like team brand strategy on LinkedIn and just how to communicate better through social platforms. So I'm really excited to be here today to chat with you about it. Also, I apologize, my dog is crying. I'm going to shut the door really fast.
This is the whole working from home thing, right? You guys know from last month, I was mentioning that my wife and I have twins now. I actually saw somebody chat in, how are the twins? They're great, they're growing, they're wonderful, but that's working from home. You never know what's going to come in, what noises are going to happen. So I think we all can relate to that. So guys, I'm so excited about this, and we're going to jump in because we've got a lot of really good content to cover, but I am absolutely thrilled that we've got Zoe here. I was here before her, and actually we worked on the sales team together for a little while before both of us switched to different departments. And just watching the way that she has really taken LinkedIn and just run with it, I'm excited for her to give us that perspective, because it's really great to talk to people who have put all of this into action, right? And have seen the results that we want you guys to see as well. So I'm going to go ahead, and as I'm sharing my screen, I'm actually going to launch a quick poll for you guys. You know, we like to get you involved early on in this. So I'm going to launch that right now. And you can probably see that question pop up. Feel free to just read through, give us an answer. You can see the question is, how often are you using LinkedIn, right? And there's anywhere from, I don't even have a LinkedIn account, to LinkedIn, what are you guys talking about, right? What is that? To, I'm in LinkedIn every day, I use it once a week. We just want to get a feel. There's no wrong or right answer on any of these polls that we send out. It's more of just to let us know, where are you at in your process in jumping into these sort of things. So oh man, we're getting tons of answers. So this will be fun. I can't wait to share this with you guys. And honestly, this is really exciting because we've got a lot of people who are using this on a really consistent basis. So I'll give it about 5 more seconds here to kind of let everybody get a chance to chime in. Holy cow, we have 76% of people that have voted. That's amazing. So let's go ahead and 3, 2, 1, get your last vote in. All right, I'm gonna end it right there. Let me share this with you guys so you can see it. This is incredible. I'll be honest, I did not expect the highest one to be I'm in LinkedIn every day. So you guys are probably better than me. I don't even know if I'm in LinkedIn every single day. So great job. I love how active you guys have been on LinkedIn. This is absolutely awesome. So let's go ahead and stop that poll. Let's show you guys kind of what we're talking about here. Zoe, are you seeing the right screen there? Or do I have the right one pulled up where you're seeing leveraging LinkedIn?
I am. Yeah, you're good.
Awesome. All right. I always like to make sure before I get too deep into the conversation, I've been sharing the wrong screen the whole time. So obviously this is the name of the webinar, but what exactly does this mean? How are we going to cover that with our agenda today? Well, first and foremost, we're going to talk about why LinkedIn in 2021, right? Those of you who've been with BombBomb for a little bit, we did cover LinkedIn last year as well. Well, holy cow, a lot's changed in a year, right? That doesn't mean everything has changed, but we want to go over some of the stuff and some of the results that people were seeing in 2020 during quarantine with all the craziness that happened in last year. So we want to kind of set a foundation there. Second, we're going to talk about how to use BombBomb in LinkedIn directly so that you have the ability to connect the video into LinkedIn and know kind of the easiest ways to do that. So we'll be definitely talking about that real quick. Next, we're going to go over some strategies, right? The first strategy, we're going to talk about how do you actually build real connections on LinkedIn. I think those of you who have been on a lot, which is a good majority of us here, you know what it means when it's not a real connection, right? We've all kind of been there. So we're going to discuss that why it's a problem, and how we can fix some of those sort of things. And then I think an even tougher one for me specifically is actually maintaining those relationships, right? What do we do once we've built those connections and those relationships? How do we continue to have those be beneficial? So Zoe's going to help us kind of learn a lot when we're talking about this stuff, because she's gone through a lot of these and kind of played with some of those sort of things. So let's dive in first and foremost to why LinkedIn now, right? Why in 2021 is this something that we wanted to cover, is something that you guys should be focusing on? First off, I don't care what industry you're in, this is a beneficial place to be. Well, why? Well, first and foremost, there's a heck of a lot of people on LinkedIn, right? 722 million members. I compared that to numbers that I was looking at last year at the beginning of the year, almost 100 million more people than the beginning of last year. That's a lot of people, right? Now, what's really cool about this, 61 million senior level influencers. That's important to know. I think I had an impression before I got involved with LinkedIn too deeply that, oh, it's just a bunch of people trying to find jobs all the time, right? That's just what LinkedIn was. I was wrong. And I will admit that. Of course, that is going to be an aspect of it. And that's why those of you that are here that are recruiters, that are looking for people to fill jobs, that's why this is a great place to be, because there are those things. But guess what? There's a lot of managers, of bosses, of C-level people that are on LinkedIn and are active on LinkedIn and actually using it. So I want you to know that. I don't care where you're at. I don't care if you're a realtor, if you're a lender, if you work in finance, if you are a recruiter, if you're doing direct sales, if you're doing cold calling, all of these things can be beneficial because of the amount of people and because of the quality of people that are on LinkedIn as well. One of the amazing things when I was looking through stats that I noticed for last year as well, which was really crazy, was there was a 55% increase in conversations among connections in 2020. That's amazing. And Zoe, maybe you can even speak to some of that and some of your experience on that as well. But the fact that LinkedIn can track, we got that much higher actual posts and conversations started from people posting some of those sort of things. Was that something you experienced? Did you see that increase throughout the year for you as well, Zoe?
I did. I mean, I think the more, well, there's just been a higher volume of people jumping on. I think, a couple of years ago, LinkedIn was a profile that like my college professors were like, you're going to need to have a LinkedIn profile as soon as you graduate, because that's how you're going to get a job. And then I jumped on there and nothing was really happening. Now there are conversations happening every day about a myriad of subjects. I have met really incredible mentors through LinkedIn. It's expanded beyond just a way to find a job like people used to think about it. It's now really a place for education, a place for actual genuine networking while we're in this sort of remote environment. And I don't think that's going away. I think it's just growing.
Well, I think what's encouraging too is the amount of money that's getting pumped into LinkedIn on a deeper level. I believe, is it Microsoft that purchased LinkedIn? Is that right?
Here, wait, somebody said my audio is bad. Is it better now?
Oh, I can hear you fine. I've
Okay.
got you though. So yeah, if you did experience bad audio, sometimes that can be internet connections and stuff. So we apologize for that. But am I right? Is it Microsoft that bought LinkedIn?
I actually don't know the answer to that
I
question.
think that's who. I think they bought it like a year or two ago, and they are putting so much money into it. I don't know for any of you. I see a couple of yes. Yeah, Microsoft. Perfect. Thank you for confirming that for me. But it's encouraging, one, to know that a company of that size believes in what LinkedIn is and is investing in it. Right? They're investing in bringing video and better quality and those sort of things in. But I don't know if any of you guys have gotten a little tired of social media over 2020. I got pretty exhausted with all of the things going on. What I loved about LinkedIn is a place to come and connect, like Zoe said, and not get messed up with all of the nonsense that can be on Facebook and Instagram and some of those other places, right? Because it's a more business driven place to have conversations, I think people stay more focused. They leave a lot of that fluff out. I'm not going to say you're never going to see it. You will. But I think as a majority, at least from the way that I have been going through it, that's something that I've really enjoyed about LinkedIn as well. So something a little bit more specific to BombBomb and why you guys are looking here is video, right? I found this stat that I thought was really incredible. LinkedIn users are 20 times more likely to reshare a video post compared to a text post. Now, Zoe and I were talking before here, and we're going to talk a little bit deeper about this later. So we're not going to dive into this now. There's going to be huge benefit for using video, and there's going to be big benefits for using text. So we're going to show you both of those and why you might use one over the other in some of those different situations there. So these are just some basic reasons of why LinkedIn is so powerful and why we wanted to talk about it. But I'm excited to kind of dive in a little bit. So let's jump into the technical side of this real quick, because for those of you that are either new to BombBomb or have done a lot of email with video but have not used video in other manners, we want to show you exactly how you can do that specifically. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my browser and bring this over here. And you can see I've already got my LinkedIn pulled up, just because we're going to show you some stuff on that. But the way that we're going to show you guys to use this, the easiest way to be able to record videos and share them on social media and all these different platforms is with our Chrome extension. So if you're using the Chrome web browser, which I think is the #1 used browser out there, you can actually download the BombBomb extension that'll add on. So let me walk you through real quick for those of you, if you don't have it, how you can do that. Basically, you just hop in the URL up here and you're just going to type in BombBomb Chrome extension. It's as easy as that. Once you've got this open, you're literally going to look for, it's actually this top one for me right here, BombBomb Video Webcam Screen Recorder. What this is this is an extension you're adding into your browser so that you can access video recording whenever you want to, and you can share it however you want to. So you can see this took us into the Chrome Web Store here, into the actual BombBomb extension. So this took us directly into it. Now, I already have it added, so I've got this blue button. If you don't, it's a green button that just says Add to Chrome. You click that, you allow one thing, and it will take you seriously 10 seconds to have this added into your account, into your Chrome extension. It's a piece of cake. Now, one thing I have noticed, the way that Chrome is setting this up is it's hidden a little bit initially. So when you first download it, you'll be like, great, where the heck did it go? Well, hop up here to your URL, and I want to make sure our videos are not in the way. And there's a little puzzle piece here. If you click on that, that will show you all of your extensions, and you'll just want to make sure this little pin next to it's blue. Once you've done that, then your actual BombBomb extension will show up just like this in the top of your account. Now, I'm not going to dive through the entire extension just because there's a lot of stuff that it can do. You can look at your video library, you can look at your tracking, there's all sorts of things. What I want to show you first and foremost is how to actually share a video on LinkedIn, because that's what we're talking about, right? That's the main focus. So you can choose, do I want to do a screen record or a regular camera only recorder? And then let's go ahead and launch the recorder there. I'm going to drag this off my other screen. Hopefully this doesn't mess up my cameras too much trying to access it from two places. I think we're good. I'm just going to record kind of a silly one here, nothing fancy, just to get to, I want to get to after the video itself. Once you've completed it, once you're happy with it, how you can actually share this. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. And this is going to be our share screen, which is the last screen that's going to bring up. What I want to draw your attention to, well, two main things on this. One, Zoe, you and I are going to talk about this. Name your video. Put a title to your video. We'll talk a little bit deeper in just a few minutes about why this is powerful, but I want to show you where you can do it. It's right here. You can name it anything you want. And we'll discuss in just a second about why that's so important, right? So here's, I don't know, just a silly kind of title, just so I have it. Then make sure that's saved and has a check mark. This copy link button right here is the really important one. You can see there's a couple different ways to share. Copy link is what you're always going to use when you're sharing on social media. So all you have to do is click that. You can see it says copied and I'm good to go. Now I can hop into LinkedIn and I can paste that link wherever I want to, right? So let's say I'll actually find Zoe and I'll just maybe act like I'm going to send her a message, right? If I pull open my message, I can copy and paste that link in here, and I can still add any text that I want to, right? And we're going to talk about some of these details as well. But that's all you have to do is copy and paste that link in there. Now, one of the cool things with LinkedIn as well is it is going to generate a preview once you're connected with this person. So they will actually see a little preview of that video once I've sent that off to her. So just to reiterate that, again, just to make sure this is as easy as possible, let's hop back up here into our Chrome extension. Once you've got the video and recorded it and done it through the Chrome extension, you're going to do copy link. Copy link is the important one. So Janny or Aaron or Vivian, if one of you guys, I haven't seen it pop in the chat, if you want to, oh yeah, you actually already have. Look at that. You guys are killing it. They're posting the links there for the Chrome extension. If you want to just click on that, it'll take you straight into the Chrome web store. The other one I do want to mention real briefly, and it looks almost identical to this, is we also have an extension for Microsoft Edge. If you prefer using that browser, you can do all of this same stuff that I'm doing through Chrome through that. Unfortunately, if you're using Mozilla or some of those other ones, we don't have extensions built into those right now. So you will have to use Chrome or Microsoft Edge. and then look for those links directly in the chat that Aaron and Vivian and Janny are posting for you guys to where you can get that downloaded. Aaron, thank you. You just put the Microsoft Edge one up there. So that's the bulk of the technical stuff. We're not going to dive. This is more, we're going to talk more concept, whys, hows than we are the kind of technical walkthrough. But I just want to make sure that you guys that maybe new or have not used that or don't even know about the Chrome extension for one reason or another have access to that so that you can kind of play with that directly. So that's how we're going to do that directly in the Chrome extension. Now, let's talk about some best practices. And Zoe, I definitely want you to feel free to chime in on some of these. I put connecting first when it comes to LinkedIn. Why is that? Why is that so important from your experience?
Yeah, so as you can see in this example, on the left, you have an in-mail, which you can send to someone who you haven't connected with yet. On the right, you've got somebody who is already a connection. And the big difference is the animated preview. When you send a video in an in-mail, and this is because of LinkedIn security, that no video can bypass it, it's going to show up like a link, which some people don't mind, but sometimes that's off-putting if somebody sends you just like a link the first time they, request you don't know what it's going to. I get kind of nervous about links in a first touch email from someone. But if it's an animated preview with somebody waving or they have a whiteboard with your name on it and it says, Mike, awesome job, like you're going to feel way more comfortable clicking that image than you would that link. Now, I wouldn't say that you could never, ever send a video in an in-mail. I would just preface it and say, hey, this link is a video that I made for you. If you're not wanting to click it, this is the gist of what I said. And then once they accept your connection, you can send a video with the animated preview. But I usually don't send a video until they've accepted my connection request. So their very first experience is my face waving at them with their name on a whiteboard.
Yeah. So kind of funny transition here. And there was a question in the Q&A that I just saw as well from Jim. He was like, I get requests from LinkedIn from people I've never heard of, never met. Why should I connect with these people? Why is that important to do on LinkedIn? How do you kind of judge that, Zoe? Because I know because you are active, I'm sure you get tons of requests. How do you judge yes, no? What's kind of your process in that?
Yeah, so I have a pretty liberal process. Ethan would probably give you a different answer for those of you who do or do not know. Ethan is our chief evangelist here at BombBomb, does a lot of public speaking. He's also pretty active on LinkedIn. His rule of thumb is just some sort of message. If they send him some sort of message with anything meaningful, he usually will accept. For me, I will accept any request that anyone sends me. I'm kind of like a innocent until proven pitchy type person. So you can connect with me and I'll accept. And then if you immediately start blasting me with sales pitches or you say something inappropriate or something, like I'm willing to be connected as long as it's, for the sake of being connected. So it's really up to you and what your goals are on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn as part of my job and promoting the brand. I create content on LinkedIn. I went from, I want to say 2,000 connections maybe 3 months ago to now I'm at almost 5,000 connections. So like I'm growing my audience, but I'm doing that intentionally. So if for you that's not what your goal is, then be more selective. If people send you a message and they're like, hey, I think we should be connected because of X, Y, and Z, maybe give yourself a rule of like, are they in my industry? Do I have something I could learn from them? And this is actually why it's so important for you as a person to have your profile up to date. Your profile needs to look, doesn't have to be amazing. It just needs to look legitimate, because when somebody asks to connect with you, what's one of the first things you do? Well, you click on their name and you go check out their profile. If there's nothing there, then I start questioning their motives. I'm like, are they only on here to like sell me something versus participate in the conversations or be a part of the community? And I ask myself that question. But if they have something on their profile, if it looks somewhat up to date, like there's a pulse on it, I don't have that same reservation.
Well, it's funny. As you were saying that, I kind of realized, Zoe, that my philosophy is kind of the same. I will accept a vast majority of requests unless they follow up immediately and try and sell me something, or they include it in the connection, right? Where it's like a templated thing. We're going to talk about that, so I won't get into too many details on that, but that's the number one turnoff for me. Otherwise, and for those of you out there that heard Zoe's numbers and are like, oh my gosh, she's got 5,000 connections, don't stress. I'm at like 480. So you don't need to feel bad about where you're at. We're all in this together, right? So, and this kind of goes with what you were talking about a little bit before with the link, and some of those things, kind of best practices. I always want you guys to add text with your video. Never rely just on the link or the video, right? Zoe touched on it, on why that's important if you've got a link. If it's just a link, people are going to be a little bit hesitant, right? People are nervous to just start clicking on stuff from people they don't know or have never met or don't have a connection with. So you always want to draw some reference to that. Now, my general rule of thumb, and Zoe, if you've got something totally different or think I'm wrong, that's, I would love to hear your input on this too. But if I get text with a link or with a video or something like that, and it addresses something personal to me, I will click on that link 100% of the time. If I know that they have taken the time to look at my profile and get to know me and understand me, there is not a single hesitation in me clicking on any of those links or reading their messages. That's just for me personally. Do you agree with that as well as kind of a best practice of personalizing those initial messages?
I would even go a step further and say if they put my name in it, like if they like had a whiteboard and wrote my name, even if it was a templated scripted email, if I know that they took the time to record that video specifically for me, even if I'm not sure how personalized it is, I'll still take the time to watch it because I know somebody took the time to make it.
Yeah. So great rule of thumb there. Best practice. Always add text with it, but personalize your messages to people. Let them know that this is something that's for them, that you actually are reaching out to them for a reason. You're not just blasting connections all over LinkedIn, right? Now, an extension of this, and Zoe and I were kind of laughing about this before the webinar here, you can see on this example that I'm showing you, we talked about naming your video, right? And I showed you where to do that in Chrome extension. You can see below my video, it says quick send video, March 10th. Does that feel very personal if you send that to somebody? No, right? You've got to make sure you name your videos. Now, this is super important. As you can tell here, they will see the name. Please do not name it something that you do not want this recipient to see. If you don't like this person, but you still need to work with them, don't name annoying guy, right? They will see that. That will not go well. The amount of stories that I have heard lately about people getting emails they should not have gotten because it was attached to something or connected to something and it said something mean about, just don't go there. It's just not worth it. So let's name these things that are going to encourage them to actually watch the video more. Put their name in it if it's a personal video. Put some of the reasoning that you're actually sending them that video. Zoe, you had a funny story kind of about using evergreen videos. So like a video that you're going to use and send to multiple people. Talk through that. That was a great story.
Yeah, so we'll break down what this video is a little bit later in this presentation, but I try and send a thank you for connecting video to everyone who connects with me. Now, there are times, like, I'm going to be honest, you guys, today I've got 42 connection requests in my account right now since we started this meeting and it is climbing. So probably not going to be able to send all of you a personal thank you for connecting video, but I will record an evergreen one or a one-to-many, and then I'll name it, thank you for connecting. One time when I first figured out that I wanted to start sending thank you videos and we had a really high volume of business happening back in the spring, I had recorded one at like the end of February and I started using it and people loved it. And then sometime in April, somebody was like, why was this video titled February 17th? And I was like, oh no, I didn't realize you could do that. So you want to name it because like you don't want to make somebody feel like they're just part of some huge batch or that you don't care about them. Like the point of video is that it is personal, even if it's not one-to-one. But you want to do your best to make people feel like you're thinking of them. And I think naming your videos is a part of that.
Yeah, so absolutely. First recommendation, if you can send personal videos, do it. If you've got the time and the energy, that is always more effective. If you don't, there's great uses for evergreen videos where you can use this kind of time and time again. I saw a chat that came in too, and from Lee Tomlinson here. Can you give us a few more examples of the written text accompanying a video? Do you have any kind of rules of thumb? Do you have any generic text that you use? I mean, I have my philosophies on this, but Zoe, do you have anything that's worked really well for you that you would recommend?
Really depends. If it's a thank you for connecting video, my text is usually like, hey Kevin, appreciate the connection. I made this for you. And then it's my video. Or if it's an email and I'm not in LinkedIn, then it's usually the subject line, I made this for you. And then like a sentence or two. You don't need a lot of text. The video and the title can kind of function, like the animated preview and the title do really, really well on here. But I definitely recommend that you write a sentence and include their name, especially if you're going to use something like an evergreen video, then writing their name in the text is going to be another way to kind of give it that extra personal touch.
Yeah, I love that. Putting their name, personalizing it, and always referencing the video. The point of the text is to get them to play the video, right? Because that's where you are. That's where you're living in this message itself. So I'd always recommend that. That's the number one thing to focus on. I'm not going to tell you what to say in that sentence because there's no magic bullet and we're all going to say it differently, right? So have it be you. Keep it short and sweet, put their name and reference watching that video. Now, we mentioned this a little bit earlier as well. We talked about best practices. What is the worst practice? Well, Zoe, you and I both kind of mentioned it. When somebody connects and then immediately tries to sell us on something, right? Nothing turns me off more quickly than that. And I think what's interesting is we're not alone in this feeling. I'm sure many of you can relate to having this happen on LinkedIn, right? Ethan, who Zoe was referencing earlier, actually did a survey on LinkedIn, and he's got a lot of followers. I don't know his number, but he's a lot of connections, excuse me. And so he just sent it out. What do you guys think when this happens? And he gave him a couple of options. Well, guess what? 27% of people said, I will disconnect from that person immediately. I'm done. I'm not messing around with this person if they try and do it. So right then and there, you've just not only not had a good experience, you've created a bad experience for somebody. They were mad enough to be like, I'm going to go through the process to disconnect from you, even though I may have already connected, right? 23% said, I'm going to ignore the message. That's probably most of us most of the time. It's just like, I'm not going to waste my time with this person, right? That's okay. In fact, I was telling Zoe earlier that I had this happen. I had somebody connect with me. I connected because I connect with most people, and then immediately got a templated message back, right? Didn't respond, ignored it. Guess what? 4 days later, got another message. Hey, just checking in on the message I sent you above. And then it was just, she sent me 3 of them. So finally, I got to the point where I was like, all right, I'm done. I actually recorded a video and sent it back to her. Just, hey, this is kind of my experience when I receive these. This is not very effective for you. And I had no idea what she was selling because I didn't understand any of the stuff she was writing. So it was just a really negative experience. So just keep that in mind. Some people are going to ignore, some people are going to disconnect. Now you can see the third option here, 10% engage with the message and then deleted or archived the message. So none of these are very good responses at this point. And last but not least, the real strong people either blocked the message or reported them to LinkedIn. None of these are what you want somebody to experience when you're connecting with them, right? None of this is setting you up for success. That's what I'm trying to do the math in my head. About 65% of people immediately are having a negative response from doing this. If you're doing this right now, please don't. I don't know how to say it more bluntly or honestly. Oh, did you lose my sound? Oh, my headphones might die. So if I cut out, just like wave at me, Zoe. And I'll
Okay,
switch
will
over. Be more effective, be more creative, be more personal with these connections. I'm not telling you do not try to sell on LinkedIn. There's a lot of benefit, but do it the right way. Don't just start blasting messages. And Zoe, maybe I'd love to hear your perspective because you were sitting as an SDR. You were having to connect to a lot of people that didn't know you. What's kind of your take on this, and what did you find that worked for you a little bit on a deeper level there?
Yeah, I took the long game approach. I would connect. I would send them a thank you video, and my thank you video was, hey, it's Zoe here at BombBomb. Thank you so much for accepting my connection request. Looking forward to following along with your content. Please don't be a stranger. I'm here if you ever need anything. Short and sweet, no ask for time, no pitch, full stop. Just thank you, and I'm here. And then I would wait, and I would do a lot of my actual selling, on via email. But what I would do is those connections, if they were active at all on LinkedIn, I would make sure to check out their profile, I would make sure to check out their content. I would try and add value and comment and like and join in the conversation, because I think that, showing them that I think what they have to say is valuable garners some sort of like reciprocal respect there. And oftentimes, not every time, but oftentimes, like if a conversation does start, it's them reaching back out and saying, hey, so like that video that you sent me, is that your company? And then it's a very natural start to the conversation. Like 50% of the time, I didn't even have to bring up the pitch. They would ask me about it, or they would say, I love that video. Is that your product? Or that's the most creative introduction I've ever had on here. Because while video is becoming more popular, it is still not the standard, and people are still connecting and pitching like crazy, these big long paragraphs of text nobody wants to read. So be more human and do it better, and you're already gonna have an advantage over the competition.
Yeah, we even talked about this last week. So I'm so glad you brought that up. So many of us that are on these webinars all the time have been doing video for X amount of time. And so it feels normal to us. It feels almost expected to us. It's not. This is still not the norm. People are not doing this as much as you might think. So take advantage of that. I think that's great advice. In fact, Zoe, we actually used, I think, an example from you one time of where you had sent a video to somebody and then actually used your BombBomb tracking to watch and see that they had watched the video. And I think you saw that they watched it a handful of times and thought, hey, I saw that you watched this. Maybe you shared this, and you actually followed up by seeing that interaction as well. Yeah.
Oh yeah, tracking is your best friend in these scenarios. I even do it internally. Like I sent a video to our team, a couple people recently, and I noticed that only 3 people watched it. And so I got to get on the people who didn't watch it and say, hey, you need to check this out. But when I'm sending it, if I send a video and I see that it's been played 4 or 5 times, and because of our tracking, I can tell how much of it's played through. If it had been played twice, and the first play was like 4% and the next one was like 90%, I would know, oh, okay, they started to play it and then they were like, I don't have time for this, and watched it again later. But if it's got 4 or 5 plays almost all the way through, they probably forwarded my message on or shared it with somebody. And I am super quick to call that out in like an authentic and non-aggressive way. I'm just like, hey, it's Zoe here sending you another video because due to our tracking, it looks like you may have shared the last one I sent you. Great. Sounds like there are conversations happening over there. We would love to be a part of them. Do you have a second to chat? And that's when it feels like a more natural way to ask for a conversation, because clearly they're already talking about whatever I shared with them. So why don't I get looped into that conversation? And that gets me, whenever I catch that, it gets me probably, I would say, an 80% booked meeting rate.
That's all. I mean, throw 80% out there, and I think pretty much everybody's like, okay, I'm in. Tell me what to do, right? I think I love the most about that process for you, Zoe, is just it's that it's honest, right? People get weird when we bring up tracking sometimes because they're like, isn't that creepy? Is it? Just be honest about it. Hey, I've got tracking. I noticed that this happened. Would love to just help you guys in that conversation. I love the way you play that, and I'm not trying to be tricky or sneaky. It's, hey, I have access to this information, and I would love for that to help us both, right?
Yeah, I mean, the text in that email is usually, I know that feels a little bit creepy, but due to our tracking, it seems like my last email or my last message was forwarded or shared. And then
And
did anybody
ever come back to you and they're like, oh my gosh, how dare you track my stuff? Like, was anybody ever offended by that message ever?
I've only not gotten a response from it once. And the only,
Wow.
I wouldn't even call it a negative response. I would just say the only time I got a response that didn't end up being like furthering the conversation was somebody saying, oh, I actually didn't forward it. Like I was just messing with it and I played it like twice on my phone and like 3 times on my computer. And like, we can't use this, but thanks. So it wasn't a negative. It was just a no, which is fine.
Yeah,
But
which is
most
better
of
than a
the time,
nothing.
yeah, most of the time it gets like, sometimes people love it. And I'm reaching out to anyone from like VPs. When I was a BDR, I was reaching out to VPs of companies between 500 and 2,500 employees. So these are busy people, and for them to take time out of their day and respond to me and say, hey, it's creepy. Not that many people would call that out, but I love your authenticity. Let's meet next week. Like that's what got me being honest and upfront in a like really just casual way got me a lot of meetings.
And I love that because that really goes to our deeper purpose here at BombBomb and what we want you guys to see as well, and that human-centered communication, right? Let's be more real in these conversations. The more we try to be tricky and the more we try to be sneaky and like try to make it look different, let's just be what we are. Let's be who we are. That's what people want to connect with. So Zoe, I love that. I think that is so great for everybody to hear of just kind of be who you are, use the video to get more of you in front of them, but also in the text, be real. We want to work with real people. We want to be with kind people. If not, they'll say no, and that's not the end of the world, right? So awesome. So we've already kind of covered these initial pieces here. I want to get into some of the examples in the last 20, 25 minutes. Let's see what the time is. 23 minutes we got left here, and I want to get everybody out on time. So we're going to start with the connection side and building the real connections, and then we're going to jump onto some of the ways to maintain the relationships there. But I know one thing you were really passionate about, Zoe, when we started talking about LinkedIn, and you already mentioned this a little bit, is make sure you're updating your profile. You talked about how people are going to go there first to look, but why is this such an important thing for you? I mean, why this is one of the first things you mentioned to me that like people don't do enough and need to do more. Why is that?
Absolutely. Here, and I'm gonna throw my profile in the chat so people can see a little bit more what I'm talking about if they want to scroll through something live. But again, if you get a connection request, what are the odds that you click on that person's name to see who they are and if you know them? So if you don't know them, you want something legitimate sitting in that space, right? Like you want to be able to see this is a real person. They're on here, you know, if there's just a gray blob behind your photo and your last job was updated, you know, 6 years ago, then they have no idea who you really are. So I think it helps with verification purposes and giving people a sense of like peace of mind. Oh, this is a real person. They're contributing to the platform. And also, I think as a BDR, I got this feedback before I had my profile updated of just like, hey, if you're a BDR and you don't have anything on your profile, my only assumption is that you're trying to sell me something. So it's a little bit more relational, actually. And if you could update 3 things on your profile, I'd recommend the banner behind your photo. Kevin has a branded BombBomb banner, but it could be anything. I would also, BDR stands for Business Development Representative or Sales Development Representative. Sorry, I saw that question in the chat. It just means I was, you know, sourcing opportunities for our sales reps. So I was like a baby sales rep. Anyway, so things you want to have updated are your background banner. You want to have your about section updated. It does not need to be paragraphs. I would just talk about yourself. You don't even necessarily have to talk heavily about your career. It can be a tiny bit more personal about who you are and what you're passionate about within your job sphere. And then finally, make sure your current job is updated. I would say if you just did 3 things today, that's what I would do to make sure that it feels a tiny bit more like legitimate when somebody goes to your page and sees you.
That's awesome. I think that's such good. It's just good, easy stuff that we can stay on top of. So just got to reiterate that background banner, update that, make sure that your about section is actually completed and that you actually have your current job as your current job on LinkedIn, right? Those sound like such basic things, but I know I had to go through and kind of update that not too long ago myself. So just make sure you stay on top of that as well. And honestly, here's a perfect example. And I want to show you guys this. And huge shout out to Mike. Mike, I think I actually saw your name pop up in the chat. So I wanted to show you guys this example because Mike used exactly what we're talking about with me about 2 weeks ago. And it made me feel awesome. I was so excited to just get a real video, get something. You can see Mike actually uses the whiteboard, which is something we talk about a lot. This is how you use the preview of the video to personalize that connection. He held my name up for the first little bit, and I'm going to play you a chunk of this video so you can see it. But it really disrupted all of the other connections. His was the first one I went to because I saw the video in that connection. So when I was looking at all of them, Zoe, you mentioned you had like 40 some. I'm sure you've got more already, right? So you have a lot. When we get a lot, where do we get drawn to first? Disrupt their process. This is a great way to do it. And what I love, I think the most that Mike did, and I believe I left it in this snippet of the video that I've posted here, is that he paid attention, he looked at my profile, and he addressed that in the video. And so I knew, one, I had updated my about me with some of my passions and why I liked my job and those sort of things. He read it and referenced that and personalized it in this video. It was just such a great connection, a great way to feel like, oh my gosh, this guy's actually connecting with me, not just trying to build up his numbers. So take a look at this video. I think it's a great example. And again, Mike, if you're still here, thanks so much for letting us use this today.
Hey, Kevin, Mike Bowers. I'm with a company called Interview Group, and I'm a new BombBomb customer, and just listened to your video a little while ago on connecting via LinkedIn, and I'm signed up for the course also. So look forward to your tips and tricks and tactics, better ways to humanize reaching out on LinkedIn. So I thought I would practice on you. You're a very interesting dude. I have to say, I envy you. I'd love to be an actor myself.
So that was something I had in my about me, is that I actually met my wife, lived in LA, did like acting was my career for 10 years before I came back to Colorado and did BombBomb stuff, right? He knew that. He paid attention to that. I hadn't told him anything. We had never talked before, right? So it was just such an awesome way for me to know, like, this guy's in it to get to know me. I will connect with that every single time it comes my way. And what's fun is I sent him a video back. He sent me another video back. We've communicated with video a couple of times through LinkedIn now, just because of this, because he built that personalization. I can't tell you the number of connections I accepted and have not talked to once, but now I know Mike. I would recognize Mike if I ran into him. Not that that will probably ever happen, but you get the point. That's how we build real relationships with some of those sort of things. So
is Mike here? He said he was going to come. Is he here? Mike,
he was here. I saw him chat earlier. I don't know if he's still here. Mike, if you are, throw a chat in or something like that. Yeah, it's awesome. See, and he's following through with what he said he would do. What a guy. So, so it's just a real great example. What I also want you to see with this is the simplicity on it. It's nothing fancy as far as the video goes, but you get to know who Mike is. And he actually used our InVideo's CTA functionality, where he put something where I could click and learn about his company as well. That doesn't show up when I downloaded the video out, but there's great strategies you can use with some of that sort of stuff as well, which is really cool. So Zoe, do you have any tips or anything we haven't necessarily talked about? I know the connection piece has come up a couple different times in this webinar, but anything that we've missed that it would be good to kind of remind people with these pieces?
I think, yeah, just being authentic, leading with something about them, I would say. The less you can talk about yourself, the more you can talk about the person you're connecting with. As humans, we love to talk about ourselves, and we love when other people are talking about us. If somebody sends me an invite and it's talking all about me, it's you versus I, it just comes across better, and it's better with you. So that would be my one additional tip. And I
love that.
Mike did a great job in his video doing that as well.
I think that's awesome. That's a great point. A couple of things I just wanted to outline of ways you can use this with connections directly, right? Send a video if you're trying to connect to somebody, right? If you're reaching out. Now, Zoe mentioned she likes to connect first and then send the video, right? To thank for the connection. So that's number 2 there, right? Thank them for actually connecting and send that video. Or if somebody connects with you and sends you a request, why not follow up with the video? I know this is something Ethan talks about all the time. This is a huge one that he really focuses on. Just because you didn't initiate it doesn't mean you can't build that relationship. It doesn't mean it's not going to be beneficial to you in some way. So don't think about this only if you're connecting with the person you have to send a video the first time. No, you can follow up and thank them depending on kind of how that connection directly came through. So the other piece that we want to go over as far as best practices, and then I do want to have a few minutes to try and hammer through some of these Q&As that I've been seeing. One thing actually I do want to touch on, because Amber, I saw your Q&A come through. The only way to get the preview for the video is to actually pay for it. No, that's not true. The way that the preview shows up in LinkedIn is if you have connected with the person that you're sending the video to. LinkedIn's trying to protect their people, right? So they don't want just all sorts of, okay, let's be real for a second. Sometimes people are going to take great technology and do inappropriate things with it, right? It's really frustrating. It is what it is. They don't want that. They don't want their users to be getting inappropriate content or content they don't want. That's why they protect these filters and why they build this stuff, right? So we just need to, once you build that connection, once they've had the choice to say, yes, I will accept that, that's when the preview will start showing up. So just wanted to clarify that for you. Great question to come in there. But the last one I want to talk about is maintaining the relationship. And I think where I kind of want to focus on this, but we're going to show you a couple different examples as well, is how do you use your feed, right, to build the expertise? This is something you mentioned earlier, Zoe, of it's not just about connecting with a million people. LinkedIn has become a place to come and learn and really go, what's working for other people, sharing that knowledge, becoming an expert in your field, in your industry. This, I think, Zoe, is where you have completely just excelled in the last year or so that you've been doing this and focusing on this. And I actually pulled an example from her feed because it positions her in a fun, real, human-centered way. It's just her, but she's also taken the couple extra steps to do a little bit of editing, have some fun with it, joke with it, and still provide a heck of a lot of value in this. So I'm going to play it. And then Zoe, if you want to talk about kind of maybe where this idea came from, what the response has been to this video. I don't even remember when you posted this, so you can kind of reference some of those sort of things. But I just want to play the first chunk so that they've got kind of a reference for that.
Hey, it's Zoe, and I'm going to show you a message that has gotten me a lot of great results. What you'll need is a whiteboard, an Expo pen, An eraser, you're going to be doing a lot of these. Some glasses, maybe? Probably? No, definitely not. You want to make sure your profile is updated because people, when they see your icon when you're requesting to connect with them, they're going to go back and check and see if you're legit. Make sure your URL is updated to your name.
So you can see she's getting a lot of the tips we've been talking about today, but she's putting it in a video. So where did this idea kind of come from, and what's been some of the responses for you with this specifically, Zoe?
Yeah, I mean, so just on a really practical level, let me pull it up here on my feed. I mean, as of right now, it has about 18,000 views, 80 comments, 350 likes, and I probably got, 60 or 70 connection requests, people asking about BombBomb. I was invited to speak on a podcast. I was asked to train another company about video strategy. And what's hilarious is some of these things feel very obvious to me because I work for BombBomb and this is what we excel at. However, to somebody else, like, that's really valuable information. So I just started talking about things that I thought were maybe obvious about video and turned out to be really, really helpful and valuable. And I think other people do that as well. People will talk about what they feel like is obvious about content marketing. And I think it's like blowing my mind because I just don't know that much about that subject. So find an area that you're an expert in and share what feels obvious and share really specific, actionable advice with your community and encourage people to join the conversation. And that has done a ton to help me gain my reach, to start way more conversations. I have people reaching out to me asking about BombBomb. I don't have to go out and find them anymore. And it's because I decided to put some value out into the community.
Mm-hmm. And it's awesome. We've had a couple of chats coming in that I think are really good to address. They're asking like, I love the music. How did you add the music? Those sort of things. That is not a BombBomb feature. Unfortunately, you're not going to be doing that directly in BombBomb. So you can get any outside editing software. If you've got a Mac, iMovie comes with your computer. Windows, I'm sure, has something similar on Microsoft. I just haven't used it. So that would be something you would have to take those extra steps to do that and then share it onto your LinkedIn. But there's huge benefit to it. And in fact, this opens up a bigger conversation that I really wanted to talk about. When I was looking through Zoe's feed, and those of you that have gone and looked at her page since she put her link up there, you'll notice not every post is video all the time, right? There's a huge benefit to mixing it up and having some video and having text. Talk about how you kind of make those decisions with your posts, Zoe.
Yeah, so I like to switch it up. One video. So one thing I'll talk about with the algorithm, I don't actually post BombBomb videos directly to my page or like as a post. You can, and you absolutely could. It's a really easy lift. And I would recommend it if that's how you're getting started. The reason I edited a video and then natively updated it is because the algorithm, LinkedIn's algorithm is friendlier to its native platform. So it's going to get better reach if you upload a video through them. And that's why I edited a video. And I also wanted to try something different. I'd never edited a video before, so it felt like a fun project for me. But here's the difference. Text posts get better reach. Video posts get better engagement. So I actually recommend a mix of both because, you want to expand your network, but you also want to engage your network. It doesn't matter if you have 5,000 connections, if you only ever get one comment on your post and nobody cares about anything you're saying and nobody wants to talk to you. The point is to add value and start conversations and be interacting with the community. And so that's why I kind of balance it out. I actually probably do like 2/3 text and maybe like 1/3 video and photo posts. And that's kind of the mix I've found effective.
I mean, we talk about this all the time with email and everything too, right? Like you're training your people to open or engage with your next information, right? So if you're always relying on them to play and watch a 5-minute video or whatever it ends up being, after a certain amount of time, even if you miss on 1 or 2 videos that they're not interested in, they may not be willing those. Where if they can just read a quick text thing every once in a while, you're creating different levels of engagement. And let's be real, when you've got 5,000 or 500 or 150, none of those people want to engage all the same way all the time. So it's great to switch it up and change it up. I love that you addressed the actual algorithm with LinkedIn and how those different things work. But let's just look at it from a personal standpoint, right? Like, I don't always want to read. I don't always want to watch. I like to do different things depending on how much time I have or why I'm on LinkedIn at that moment. So use that, utilize that, and work in the different ways that your people are going to want to work. So somebody actually early on in this kind of posted some of this stuff of some of the ways that they wanted to maintain relationships. And they actually talked about number one. congratulating on birthdays, anniversaries, new jobs, different things like that. Those are great opportunities that LinkedIn will let you know about, that you can follow up with people and send them a quick video or comment or message them. Amazing way. Like you were talking about, Zoe, people like to hear you talk about them. People like to hear ourselves talked about and congratulated. That feels really good. Do it. That is so human. It's so natural. Let's do that on a regular basis. But some more creative ways that sometimes people don't always think about is comment on a post, right? Actually do a text comment. And then you can even follow up in a one-to-one message to elaborate on that with a video. This is something that Ethan Butte brought up that he likes to do on things that really trigger something in him, is let that person know, I loved your post. That really got me thinking about X, Y, and Z, and start one-to-one conversations because of a comment on a post or something that somebody posted there, right? Obviously, we've touched on post interesting, informational content, like that example that Zoe posted, right? Post things that, oh, are we losing me? Can you still hear me okay? My headphones are going out any second here, so we'll see what happens. But be informational, build yourself as the expert on your feed. That's an amazing way to continue to maintain those relationships. I love to thank people that have given good recommendations. This is something that I didn't necessarily think about, right? Post asking questions on LinkedIn and then follow up with people. Thank them with videos for giving you a recommendation for X, Y, and Z. And then this last one is one that you had mentioned to me this morning, Zoe, of tagging people in posts that are relevant to them, right? As you're following other people, and maybe we'll say I'm following Janny's account, right? Her LinkedIn. She posts something that is something Zoe and I have talked about. Great, tag Zoe in my comment on that post. Allow them to know, hey, I remember our conversation. That was a real conversation for me. I appreciated it. I think this would be valuable for you. It's a great way where you're not creating all the content all the time, but you can still bring that to the people that need to read it the most. So just some creative ways. Again, some of them are going to be text, some are going to be video. There's no right or wrong. There's no 100% of the time. I would say as much as you can do the communication with video in messages, in building those relationships, that's a huge win. But obviously when it comes to feed and building content and that sort of stuff, mix it up, get creative, have fun, have some real simple videos, have some edited videos, have some text, have some links to different articles. Different people want to react in those different ways. So just to recap here, and then we've got about 5 minutes that I want to touch on some of these Q&A things and kind of read through some of that. This is a quote I found from Jill Raleigh, who's a social selling evangelist. LinkedIn is no longer your just online resume, it's your digital reputation. I thought that's such a cool way to think about that. And Zoe, I'm sure you can relate to that, right? I know you've had so many conversations and so many different things because of your interactions and your activity on LinkedIn. That I think you would absolutely go, oh, this is way more than just people reading my resume and seeing what I can do. So
well, it's like it's opening the doors for opportunities that I hadn't really thought of before. Since I've gotten really active on LinkedIn, I've been a guest on podcasts. I've been invited to more things, speaking engagements. People have asked me to write guest content, things like that. Those things never ever would have happened if I weren't active on this platform. Every one of those invitations came through LinkedIn. And that also has generated awareness of our brand, of BombBomb, of who we are. And that's my goal. Like, that's what my job is. So that's like the long-term benefit. But you have to approach it relationship first. Like, you can't lead pitch first. You have to lead relationship first. And the other stuff kind of comes as a result.
Totally. I love that. So here, I'm going to give you a little bit of homework, and then we're going to answer some of these questions. I want you guys to use a video to connect with somebody on LinkedIn. It's a real easy. I want you to do it once and see the responses that you get back. In fact, Zoe, if you want to grab your LinkedIn link again, I'm going to copy and paste them
here. If you guys want to send them to us, oh, I think it just switched to my.
It did, but we can hear you.
Okay, hold on just a sec. Let me switch my headphones. There we go. Can you hear me okay still? Okay, so feel free to connect with me or Zoe if you want to. Otherwise, look through your connections and find an opportunity where you can use a video to build that real relationship, not just the connection itself. That's where I really want to challenge you guys in this. So some questions here that I want to answer, and Zoe, feel free to chime in on this. I don't know if you've been looking through the Q&A much, but we've been getting a handful of questions about B2B versus B2C. So for reference, business to business, right? Sales, kind of what Zoe was doing with her being an SDR, a sales development rep, versus being like a realtor reaching out to a client. What are your philosophies on that?
I think video is P2P, it's person to person. So if you're sending a message to somebody, to a human being, that's what video is good for. Whether they're a customer directly or whether they're another business, who would technically be your customer. It's a person. And so I am a fan of relationship forward, whether you are selling house to one human or you are trying to sell $100,000 annual contract to an organization, you're still going to be dealing with people in both scenarios. So video is for P2P, and I would use it in both scenarios.
I freaking love that. It's people to people. That is such a great answer. I'm going to totally steal that from now on. Zoe. One of the things we talked about last year when we talked about this with LinkedIn is that people are not one dimensional, right? We are not just our job. We are not just a home buyer. We are also a person and a worker and a mother and a son, daughter, whatever. We have so many different passions. Just because LinkedIn is more of a business platform does not mean that's the only thing we're on. So you might be connecting to somebody for whatever reason and they realize, oh yeah, we're in the process of moving. I mean, I saw somebody put a statement up here earlier that they sold a house to somebody that they connected with on LinkedIn. That's totally quote unquote B2C, right? I mean, that's directly to them. So I think just thinking about it on the people to people scale is just, that's awesome. I freaking love that. So let's look at some other ones. Let's see. I'm just kind of scrolling through these questions. I do want to let everybody know we're almost at 11 o'clock. If you have to run, hey, I appreciate you guys being here. This is always one of my favorite things to do throughout the month. So I love being here. Thank you guys for coming. Zoe, thank you for all of your expertise, all of your knowledge, all of your experience. I mean, you have brought a wealth of information to this, which has been amazing. I'll spend another minute or two kind of looking through the questions here. But as always, we are here for you. If you need anything, support.bombbomb.com. We actually just launched a great new help center, a new knowledge base where you can go see all sorts of videos and stuff. So feel free to stop by there if you have any questions. Otherwise, let me kind of peek through here and see. We've had some kind of technical questions. Zoe, are you using a fancy mic or anything? Somebody asked if you were using any.
I wasn't earlier, which is why everybody heard me so echoey, but I have just a PNP, it's the 5.5. I just Googled microphone, external microphone, and found it on Amazon. You don't have to go crazy, but I like the external mic because I am on webinars and podcasts from time to time. But before, I was just using my computer microphone. I didn't do anything.
Totally. Or you can do like what I was doing for the first half, use headphones, right, that have microphones built in. If you're in a room that's relatively quiet, those microphones are fantastic. So I'm always big on don't feel like you have to go spend a bunch of money on stuff. Try out what you have first. And if you're unhappy with it, then you can kind of look at some of those options. But let's see. I think we've kind of answered most of this sort of stuff. And since it's at the top of the hour, I say we just, one, we've also given a heck of a lot of information too. So I want to let you guys just digest all of that. For those of you that maybe came a little bit late, we will be sending a recording out of this webinar. So you will get that in the next few days. You can always go to bombbomb.com/webinar and look up past webinars if you don't see that email for any reason as well. Otherwise, send out that initial connection video. If you want to do it to Zoe and I, we would love to see some of those. In fact, I've already had a few coming in during this webinar, which is fun. Zoe, I'm sure you had a ton. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you for letting us be a guide through this journey of yours as we're learning. And thanks for teaching us all this stuff you guys teach us, because man, we've got the best customers in the world.